It's a brick. It's unplayable. It's PALAFIN EX. This metagame needs a hero, and this is what you're going to settle with, okay? Maybe this isn't the hero you want, but this is the hero we deserve. So let's talk. PALAFIN EX is a stage 1 EX with 340 HP. It has the attack Giga Impact, which for 1 water energy lets you hit for 250 damage with the drawback of not being able to attack during the next turn. And finally, we have the ability Hero Spirit, which has put this Pokemon into play only with the effect of PALAFIN's 0 to Hero ability. So obviously this card looks crazy. Let's look at 0 to Hero. 0 to Hero is an ability on this regular PALAFIN. This card has 100 HP, a retreat cost of 1, and this ability says once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the active spot to the bench, you may search your deck for a PALAFIN EX and switch it with this Pokemon. Any attached cards, damage counters, whatever sticks around, blah, 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 don't care. Look, the gimmick here is simple. Here is a card that is insane for a stage 1 EX. Very cheap attack, lots of HP, very scary. Of course, in order to get it out, we have to go through the trouble of triggering 0 to Hero. That said, PALAFIN is really funny, so people have tried for a while to make this thing work, and honestly, people have gotten pretty close. Most recently, a player that goes by the name PH has been taking down a couple of online tournaments using a deck featuring PALAFIN. So I've taken that deck list and honestly shamelessly stole it. Here it is. These are the 60 cards that enable PALAFIN EX to be kind of threatening. There's a lot to talk about here, so we'll start with a card by card. We have 4 Finizen, but we have 2 of each Finizen. We have the 70 HP one from Twilight Masquerade, that's just fine. We also have a 50 HP one from Obsidian Flames. The reason why we're playing this less healthy Finizen is because we have the attack Valiant Evolution, which for 1 water energy says switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon. Basically, this just gets us to a PALAFIN. That's why we like it. Now, as for our PALAFINs, we have 4, 3 of which are the 0 to Hero that we talked about before, but we have 1 other PALAFIN here. This is a 1 prize PALAFIN with 150 HP. It does have this Jet Punch, which is 30 plus 30 to the bench, but more importantly, Justice Kick costs 2 water energy and hits for 210 damage. That is the way that we take out a Cornerstone Ogrepon. That's why this thing is here. We have 3, of course, of our signature card, PALAFIN EX, and we also have 3 Staryu and 3 Starmie. These are both from 151, and you've probably never seen these cards before because they are bad. Starmie is essentially Timu Dusclops. This card has the ability Mysterious Comet, which says once during your turn, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you place any damage cards in this way, discard this Pokemon and all attached cards. So why are we using this? Well, this is to help us trigger a PALAFIN a little bit, right? We give our PALAFIN, it's in the active, we move it to the bench, switch it out with Starmie. Now our PALAFIN is turned into PALAFIN EX, but it's stuck on the bench. So we can now use our active Starmie's ability, discarding it, and now that brings PALAFIN into the active and ready to attack. The extra 2 damage is also quite nice. We have 1 Tatsugiri just because we're pivoting in and out of the active, kind of nice to have. We have 1 Alomomola from Black Bolt. This card is also kind of interesting. But once per turn, if it's in the active spot, you can put a basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less from your discard pile onto your bench. It gets back our Finizens, of course, but it also gets back our Staryu so we can keep reusing Starmie. And finally, we have the 1 of Pheasantipity. Now, as for the supporters, we have 4 Lily's Determination and 4 Iono. The reason why we're on 4 of each of these, besides them just being generally good cards, is because our PALAFIN can only play PALAFIN EX from the deck, which means that if we have a PALAFIN EX in the hand, it is not only useless while it's there, but it is actively detrimental to hold it in the hand. So we want to get rid of this thing right away. We also have 2 Boss's Orders, 2 Arvin, 1 Black Belt Stranded, 1 Professor's Research, 4 Bite Puffin, 4 Ultra Ball, 2 Super Rod, 1 Earthen Vessel, 1 Counter Catcher, 3 Air Balloon to help with the pivoting, and 1 Maximum Belt is our ace deck of choice. This card allows our PALAFINs to hit for an extra 50 damage. That's pretty nice. 250 is a big number, but unfortunately, if it's the only thing you're hitting for every turn, it's not enough. So Maximum Belt ends up being kind of necessary here. We have 4 copies of Surfing Beach. This is a stadium from Mega Evolution that says once during each player's turn, that player may switch their active water Pokemon with one of their benched water Pokemon. This is a really big deal for this deck because this is a free switch. This lets our PALAFIN trigger 0 to Hero. So Surfing Beach allows us to pivot every turn so that we can keep on going with this onslaught of PALAFIN attacks. And finally here we have 6 basic water energy. We don't need a lot because of course most of our attacks only take 1, but yeah, we're on 6. This deck kind of has a lot of moving parts, but I feel like it comes together to be something pretty coherent and pretty interesting. So let's check this out. So our first match is up against Tordbox, and we're going first. Leading the Tatsugiri is pretty nice, but not seeing a Finizen turn 1 is not nice. So kind of mixed feelings here. Our draw for turn is just a water energy. That's not going to help very much. We'll simply use the Track Customers. We'll whiff that as well, but it's okay. We'll simply bench a Staryu and end turn. We could attach a water energy so we could retreat next turn. I did not do that. That was a misplay, simple as. Now, our opponent's going to start by benching a Monkey Dory. Then they're going to use Run Aaron to draw 2 more cards. Tordbox is kind of a scary deck. It can reach very big HP numbers that we can't deal with, but on the other hand, if they don't have those buffs, we can take take 3 prizes in a turn, which is kind of crazy. They're going to poke here for an Arven and then play the Arven. Using this, they'll grab a Nest Ball and a TM Turbo Energize. Nest Ball gets the Absol from the deck. Next, our opponent will attach a Mist Energy onto Kangaskhan before playing the Turbo Energize. Using Turbo Energize, they'll put more energy onto the Absol, and that ends their turn. Bringing it back to us. We'll draw and we'll get a Starmie. Might as well play that down. We'll track customers again to see if there's anything worth picking up off of this. There's only an Iono. We want to use lilies anyway, so we probably won't bother even grabbing that. And so we'll use the lilies and we'll get a new hand of 8. This is not bad at all. We have the Buddy Buddy Poppin first of all, which was a very good. We'll get a Finizen and another Finizen off of that. Then we can put a Water Energy onto our bench Finizen and we can call it a turn there. So kind of a slow turn, but at least we'll be able to do stuff later, I suppose. For now, our opponent is going to attach the third energy onto the Mega Absol. They're going to play a Lively Stadium before using Lili's Determination to get a new hand of 8. That's kind of scary, but what can you do? They're going to run Errand for 2 more, putting into a nice 10 card hand for them. They're going to Bravery Charm onto the Absol. They're going to use Petrunt EX and a Monkey Dory down. Using Petrunt, they can bring in the Absol. That does put poison on the Absol though, which we don't mind at all. They're going to attack with Claw of Darkness, which allows them to discard a card from our hand. That's not great. Our opponent is going to discard the Surfing Beach, which is really awkward for us because now we don't really have a way to pivot out our Palafin. We draw for turn, and because we are the better player, we simply get the other Surfing Beach. Now we will throw down both the Palafin that we have here. We can use Surfing Beach now. We can bring in Starmie to replace our active Palafin. That triggers 0 to hero, getting us a Palafin EX from the deck. Over here, we might as well play the Iono, get us a new hand while destroying theirs. That gets us a nice new hand of 6, including that Maximum Belt, which is exactly what we need. We'll throw on the Staryu. We'll attach the Maximum Belt onto the Palafin EX. Then we can use Starmie's ability, Mysterious Comet. We'll place 2 damage counters onto the active Absol. That also allows us to bring Palafin EX in and attack for Giga Impact for 300 damage, taking the knockout on the Absol and getting us 3 prize cards. Next turn, we can very easily just Surfing Beach pivot around that Palafin again and take a knockout with Boss Orders, so I feel like we have this game on lock. Our opponent's going to play down Yveltal. They're going to play Arven to grab a Counter Catcher, but because of Surfing Beach, it doesn't really matter if they use Counter Catcher to Clutch Lock. We can just pivot out again. It does not matter at all to us. Our opponent's going to play the Counter Catcher and then presumably concede out of shame. Our next match is up against Gardevoir. I know, but trust me, this one's good. So we'll go second here. We're going to lead Tatsugiri. Our opponent's going to lead with Monkey Dory. That's pretty standard for them. We're going to bench a Ralts, and they'll fire off an Ultra Ball, discarding a Gardevoir EX in a Turo scenario to grab a Frillish. They'll bench the Frillish, give it a Psychic Energy, and end their turn there. Now it's our move, and I think we have a pretty nice hand. We'll just start things off with Arven here. We'll get a Poffin and an Air Balloon. We'll fire off the Poffin. That'll get us a Finizen and a Staryu. We can now play Earthen Vessel. We'll pitch the Professor's Research to get 2 Water Energy to hand. We'll go for Attract Customers. I mean, might as well. We'll hit a Lily's Determination. That's fine. Next, we'll put a Water Energy onto the Finizen. We'll Air Balloon our Tatsugiri, retreat into the Finizen, and simply use that Valiant Evolution to bring in our Palafin. Our opponent's turn again. They'll draw for turn, and they'll simply pass. Not great, but we'll take what we can get here. Start things off by firing Attract Customers. We'll whiff, but that's not really a big deal. We'll retreat into Palafin, then we'll play Surfing Beach. Using this, we'll pivot into the Staryu, and that'll allow our Palafin to use 0 to hero to turn into Palafin EX. Palafin EX ready. All we need is a way to get rid of our Staryu. We'll see if we can get lucky here. Let's go for Lily's Determination and get a new hand. And we do get the Starmie. That's very nice. We'll bench the other Finizen. We'll evolve into Starmie. Might as well put an energy on the Finizen, and then we'll go for Starmie using Mysterious Comet to put 2 damage counters onto the Frillish. After that, I'll bring in the Palafin and I'll attack with Giga Impact. Anyways, our opponent's going to bring in the Frillish. They're going to evolve their bench Ralts to a Curlia. That's once again very good for us. They're off to such a slow start. Our opponent's just going to use Oceanic Gloom. They're going to do 20 damage, and it's our turn again. We're locked out of items, but this isn't terrible at all. We'll evolve our bench Finizen into a Palafin. Next, we'll use the Surfing Beach to bring in the Palafin. Then we'll simply retreat right back into our Palafin EX. And that once again triggers 0 to hero, allowing us to get a second Palafin EX to play. We could Iono, but they have a very bad hand, and I'd like to keep them with a bad hand, so we'll instead just punch with Giga Impact to take the knockout. Now it's our opponent's turn again. They need something good here or else they'll lose the game. Then they'll go for Night Stretcher. That's actually pretty solid for them. Night Stretcher will get back a Gardevoir EX from the discard pile. They'll evolve their Curlia into a Gardevoir. Next, they're going to bench a Scream Tail and play Iono. That's going to turn things around a little bit. Our giant hand is cut down to 4 cards while they get a new hand of 6. The Staryu's not bad at all here. Surfing Beach is fine. We already have one set up, but it doesn't hurt to have another one. But that Staryu going on the bench could be very helpful for just the extra damage, especially if they put a bunch of damage cards onto their Scream Tail to do a huge bench snipe. We can just send a Starmie and take that remaining knockout, which is kind of nice. Anyways, our opponent's going to Ultra Ball. That allows them to get a hold of a Pheasantipity. They're going to use another Ultra Ball now. This gets them to Mew, and you can still get 6 more cards, which is kind of crazy. Mew's Restart gets them 3 cards. Next, they'll flip the script to get 3 more. Next, they're going to bump away our Surfing Beach, and they're going to get an Artisan into play. Of course, we'll just get rid of the Artisan with our other Surfing Beach. They're going to bench a Monkey Dory off of Artisan. They're going to play a Ross from their hand. They're going to Ultra Ball now. They're going to discard a Psychic Energy and a Nest Ball from their hands. And they'll grab another Monkey Dory, which is fine, I think. Anyways, our opponent's going to use Psychic Embrace now. They only have 2 Psychic Energy in their discard pile, so they're going to put those 2 onto their Gardevoir EX. Next, they'll retreat into Screamtail, and they'll use Psychic Embrace again, charging up the Screamtail this time. And now they'll just use Roaring Scream to do some damage to the active Palafin. Not really sure how I feel about that. They could have taken the knockout onto Tatsugiri instead, although I guess that wouldn't have made too much progress for them. Maybe they just want the damage they can punch for knockout on the Palafin later on. Either way, we'll start off with Artisan here. We'll throw down an Alomomola this time. Next, we'll Poffin here, get a Staryu and a Finizen, and we'll just put a Water Energy onto our bench Palafin. Next, we'll play Surfing Beach, and we'll use Lily's Determination to get a new hand. That's pretty nice. For now, we'll just use the Surfing Beach. We'll retreat our Palafin EX, bring in the other Palafin, and we can pretty easily punch for the knockout. We do have a lot of good stuff in hand right now, although we don't have any Gusting, so we can't just snipe another EX for big prizes, but things are looking pretty good for us, right? All we need is one knockout plus an EX knockout, and that wins us the game. Opponent will simply bench their other Monkey Dory. They'll put a Psychic from hand onto Gardevoir. That allows them to draw an extra card off of restart, putting them to a hand of 3. And they'll put a Bravery Charm onto Pheasantipity. I guess that's to stop us from Giga Impacting it. Now they're going to use Professor's Research to draw a new hand of 7. Not bad at all. Now they'll flip the script, getting 3 more cards, putting them to 10. Next, they'll just lay Earthen Vessel, pitching a Psychic to get a Dark. Now they're going to use Secret Box, discarding the Clefairy, Psychic, and Lilies to get a hold of Night Stretcher, TM Devolution, Iono, and Mystery Garden. And that is a terrifying 4 cards to see. Luckily, they already used their supporter for turn, so they can't Iono us out of our hands. But that Devo is really scary. Keep in mind, our Palafins cannot be played from the hand. They have to be played from the deck off of our other Palafin's ability, which means if they Devo, we are kind of in a lot of danger. For now, they're just going to play Mystery Garden to get rid of our Surfing Beach. We don't care. We have another one. Next, they'll Super Rod to put back a Diancie, a Screamtail, and a Frillish. They'll follow it up with Psychic Embrace to put 1 Psychic Energy onto their Gardevoir, and then they will retreat into Monkey Dory. They'll Psychic Embrace again, this time to charge up the Monkey Dory, and they'll end their turn with a Mind Bend to do damage to our Palafin. We'll simply play our Surfing Beach. That gets rid of their Mystery Garden. We're going for Arven here. We'll get an Ultra Ball and an Air Balloon. We can Ultra Ball pitching the Poffin and the Water Energy. Doesn't Snake really need either of those. We'll get another Palafin into play. We'll attach a Water Energy to it, and we'll put an Air Balloon on it. I know this seems a little weird, but I want to play around them Ionoing us down to 2 cards and then going for the Devo play to get rid of our other Palafins. We want to be able to have a 0 to hero Palafin on the bench so we can set it up and attack later. In this case, we're going to use Giga Impact to take the knockout onto the Monkey Dory. So now we only have 2 prizes we need to take at this point, and we do get a Boss's Orders. That is really good for us. If our opponent does not play Iono, we can honestly win the game during our next turn. Our opponent's going to start off by putting a Darkness onto the Monkey. It's about time they do that. They're going to Nest Ball for the Screamtail. Now they're going to go for Iono. We also draw into our Palafin off the Iono. That's really, really bad because that means our current Palafin on the bench will not be able to turn into Palafin EX unless we can somehow shuffle our hand back into our deck. Our opponent's going to retreat their Mew into Screamtail. They'll use Psychic Embrace now on the Screamtail. They'll put 6 damage counters onto that Screamtail, so now they can use Roaring Scream. They'll Adrenabrain 2. They'll move 30 off of their Gardevoir and onto our benched Palafin EX. And now they'll simply use Roaring Scream to take out our benched non-EX Palafin. Again, this is all in service of their potential Devo play. They don't want me to get another Palafin EX set right up, so they're trying to destroy my bench as much as possible before they eventually go for Devo to wipe my board. In the meantime here, we can't really do a lot. We'll Super Rod. We don't need to put back our regular Palafin since we have a bunch of those in the deck, but we will put back our Staryu, our Starmie, and our Finizen. Next, we'll just go for the Surfing Beach to bring in the other Palafin and do all we can, which is punch for a knockout on the Screamtail and bring ourselves down to just 1 prize card remaining. We prized both of our boss's orders, by the way. Our opponent's going to bench Diancie. Next, they'll use Adrenabrain to move 30 damage off of the Gardevoir and onto our active Palafin. And now they will Iono to put us down to 1 card. Luckily, that means our Palafin is back in the deck. Buddy Poffin is actually a very good 1 card to have. I will say that. Finally, they'll use Psychic Embrace. They'll attach a Psychic Energy. They'll use Devo. And that, of course, puts our Palafin EXs back to the hand where they are completely useless, as well as knocking out both of our Finizens in play. That's not what you want to see. Our opponent will take 2 prizes, but now it's our turn. We'll draw and we get Iono. That's actually not bad at all. We'll start things off with Buddy Poffin. We'll get 2 Finizen into play. Now we can go for Attract Customers. We have everything in these top 6 cards, I guess. We'll get Lily's Determination, and we'll simply play it, putting back both of our Palafin EXs and getting a new hand of 6 cards, and that is fairly solid. For now, though, we will simply evolve our bench Staryu into a Starmie. We'll retreat into Alomomola. Next, we can use Alomola's Gentle Fin to put a 3rd Finizen onto the bench. Our opponent doesn't really have a way to knock out 2 Finizens in 1 turn, but we just want to play it safe for now. We'll end our turn there. Our opponent is going to use Psychic Embrace. They're going to put a second energy onto the Gardevoir, and now they'll detach 2 energy to retreat into that Mega Diancie. Mega Diancie being the active is also awkward for us because we cannot take this out with a Giga Impact. In fact, this thing has 270 HP, but it takes 30 less from attacks, so we will need kind of a lot of effort to be able to one-shot this thing. Our opponent will use Adrenabrain to take some extra damage off of the Diancie as well. That damage will move onto our bench Finizen. Next, they'll play Counter Catcher to bring in the Tatsugiri of all things. I suppose it makes sense they don't want me to pick up a Lilies, and they'll simply fire off the Gardevoir, detaching 1 energy to take the knockout on the Tatsugiri. This is not great for us. Next turn, they can Monkey Door, take out our active Finizen, and maybe like bench snipe the other one. We draw into PALAFIN EX, which is completely useless to us. We'll simply fire off the Ultra Ball here. We'll discard Staryu and a PALAFIN EX, and we'll grab Fez because we desperately need new cards. We'll throw down Fez. We'll put a Water Energy onto the Finizen. We'll play Iono here. Even though this does destroy our hand, it also destroys theirs, meaning that if they are on boss's orders, we at least greatly reduce the odds on them drawing into it. We pick up a Counter Catcher, which we cannot use. We'll simply attack with Finizen using Valiant Evolution. We'll get a PALAFIN from the deck, and we'll bring in that Alomomola. Now it's our opponent's turn. We just have to hope they can't gust up the Fez, or else we would lose the game. They'll Adrenabrain, putting 30 on the other bench Finizen. Then they'll put a Psychic Energy from hand onto the bench Gardevoir. That allows them to use Muse Restart to draw 1 new card. They'll simply put a Bravery Charm onto the Diancie, making it even harder to one-shot, and they'll fire off the Garland Ray, discarding 1 energy, taking the knockout on the Alomomola. Our opponent's going to end their turn. Keep in mind, they have less than a minute on the clock right now. This person has been slow playing the entire time, but that's not too important right now. What we'll start off by doing is using Surfing Beach. We will switch our PALAFIN out for Starmie. We'll once again fire off 0 to hero to get another PALAFIN EX into play. Now we can use Flip the Script. We have to hope we can draw into something good here to win the game, and we get boss's orders barely. That is a huge deal for us. We'll fire off the Mysterious Comet. We'll put some damage onto the Mew. Doesn't really matter at this point. Army goes to the discard pile. That allows us to bring in PALAFIN EX. Allows us to fire off the boss's orders, bring in the Mew EX, and allowing us to attack and take the knockout. That was much closer than I would have liked it to be. We're back. So don't get it twisted, just because this deck wins does not mean it's necessarily good, but I do think that was quite a nice showing for us. Let's talk. PALAFIN is cool. It is PALAFIN. Everyone loves PALAFIN. I don't think there's a single person who does not like PALAFIN unless they are sick in the head, vile, evil, and an enemy to you and me. Now, let's look a little more closely here. It is very cool that we have this attacker that hits for a lot of damage. When you have all the pieces we need, when everything comes together, this is really strong. We can keep punching turn after turn and do a lot. The problem, of course, is that 250 damage is really good for 1 energy, but 250 damage being the most you can do is not great. So we're kind of reliant on that maximum belt. We're kind of reliant on black belt's training. We need cards like that to really push us over the edge and take those 1-hit KOs. Even Starmie, 2 damage counters is barely anything, right? A lot of the things that we want to one-shot are of course things with 330 HP or 300 HP, but there's even stuff with like 280 HP that we can't one-shot because Starmie only puts 2. I was impressed by how consistent this deck can be. Just the ability to get PALAFIN EX set up. I was quite surprised at how easily that was able to happen. I really liked the tech with Starmie, especially where you can put it into the active, then just discard it to bring in something else. So overall, yes, this is PALAFIN. This is the hero that we need, and this is the hero that is going to save the metagame. Maybe something will happen and PALAFIN will be good. Maybe they'll stop releasing good megas and they'll start releasing your PALAFIN does 100 more damage and also poisons everything. I don't know. Only time will tell. Thank you very much.